where most artists make their biggest mistake is in the cost of sale. How do I deal with cost of sale? You all know to assemble the costs of your materials. You all know how much silver it takes to make ring 242, okay? What you don't realize and you don't count is the amount of time and energy it takes you to sell ring 242. If ring 242 is a $100 ring, wholesale, it sells faster than ring 676, which is a $2,000 ring. The amount of time that you must spend in selling the higher priced item is proportionate to the price. Get my drift?
Yeah.
So watch what you're doing. This is why artists always create, if they are successful, they have a broad line of production, limited edition, and one-of-a-kind work. You must be not all things to all people, but at least a little bit of this and a little bit of that to all your galleries. Galleries do not want to purchase one thing from you. If you have one successful thing, a gallery will ignore you. I don't care how good that thing is. It doesn't matter how good that thing is. But most galleries already have several hundred relationships with artists. There is no reason to add one more vendor to communicate with, unless you've got little things, little earrings that go with that enamel, as well as the big splashy piece. Because the person drawn to the big splashy piece may not be able to afford it today, but they may buy a pair of earrings to remind them of that big splashy piece that they're going to buy soon. Then again, the person that buys the big splashy piece and is so committed to your work, to your one-of-a-kind work, that person may need a birthday present for a niece. What are they going to buy for the niece? Another big splashy piece? No. They're going to go for those little earrings. Your small pieces help sell your larger pieces, and it's so much easier for the gallery to sell your work when they have a broad range of work. It's also easier for them to remember the story that goes behind your work. Can you imagine having a gallery with 300 artists in it and having to remember a story behind each one? How about when you hire the art student from down the street, from the college down the street? How does that person learn the 300 stories that need to be told with each item? We are not a community or an economy where things are sold at a cash register. We are an economy and a community where things are sold by hand. You have to put that into that person's hand in order to sell it. And you have to talk to them and explain it. And it's not all about process. Men love to learn about process. Women fall in love. Okay? With men, you have to tell them exactly how it was done. All you have to do with a woman is get it into her hands if she's in love. So it's an emotional buy. And today, more than ever, people are very sensitive to the background story of a thing. Main Street, shop local, the environmental movement, all of this stuff is playing right into our hands. 5 years from now, you should be prepared for the biggest bang of the craft movement you will ever see. The retail store that's in a resort area is paying somewhere in the neighborhood of $60 to $120 a square foot for space. That is huge. It is costing them a fortune to sell your work and the work of those hundreds of others. But it is still more efficient for them to sell it than for you to go to the local fair to try to sell. Because your time out of the studio, you're going to lose.
Do you think that there's a golden formula for dividing your time between wholesaling and going to retail shows? Because I mean, it can't be. I mean, the retail shows are what they are. They're out there, and they're a wonderful thing. When they're great, they're great. You know.
They are great when they're great.
Yeah.
And what I would recommend is that you cherry pick your retail fairs, and you apply to them, and you make sure that you're not doing a retail fair where you would earn less than $8,000 or $10,000. That's what people tell me is their minimum. Now, in the last couple of years, people have broken that
You're
rule.
saying 5. 5,000.
It depends on what you're paying yourself.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to make $5 an hour, go ahead. But, you know, if that's what you make. But if you are making a living completely off of your work, then I would recommend 8 to 10. Because if you're traveling, that expense, and preparing for a show, you've got 5 or 6 days that you're preparing. You can't do that back to back. So I think 5 or 6 shows a year is all most people could manage if you're doing them right. I see people all the time doing shows wrong. They don't prepare, they don't do a mailing, they don't participate in the advertising or the promotion, they don't find a mailing list of wealthy art patron donors in the town that they're going to. They make all the wrong mistakes. They don't do any advertising, they don't have a Facebook page, they don't tell people that they know that they're going to be in town, they don't borrow a list from another artist. There are 100 things you can do before you go to a retail fair. They don't set up an in-store event with a gallery, a local gallery, with wine and cheese 2 days before the retail fair happens. That's a great gift to a local retail store. They've got $20,000 of your work on consignment for 3 days, and they're doing a mailing out to their customers to sell it. Make your retail fair work for you.
On the other hand, you said you don't want to do retail shows in the backyard of your house.
Yeah, but you're doing it before you go to the show. If you are not advertised heavily at the retail fair, you can go to the gallery and let them make the big event for you. It could be an entirely different clientele that you're seeing at the retail show.
Two of those things I can understand not thinking about: the show and the gallery before the show, and the high-priced donor list. The rest of the stuff, I mean, you're in this to make money. I don't quite understand how somebody could not remember to. I mean, I just
Hold on. Let me explain to you. The new exhibitor meeting down at Baltimore that I had right before the show started, okay? I had 50, 60 people in the room, and I said, how many of you participated in the co-op mailing that we offered you before the show? 3 people raised their hand. How many of you read a book on wholesaling before you got here? How many people read a book on wholesaling before you got here? 3 people raised their hand, the same. How many people attended a business institute before you came here? The same 3 people raised their hand. I said, the rest of you, you're screwed.